and she has been designing book covers and doing book formatting for many years. You can see her work on the covers of several CWC members and NCPA members as well, including one of mine. I don't know if she's going to use mine for one of her examples, but she did this cover for me a couple of years ago. I'll pass it around. The book is nonfiction. It's about a prostitute who lived in Sacramento during the gold rush era. And there are no pictures of this lady, so Karen X actually made the whole thing up and did a smashing job, I think. Okay, so um, during 2023, she also published her own debut mystery, a Deadly Combo, and of course, she designed its cover. She has it for sale back here for anyone who's interested. What we'll learn from her today in her talk is, pardon me, the three most important elements of a book cover, tips on using the cover to its fullest potential, the best practices for formatting a book's interior, and last but not least, okay, the typical cost for book cover design and formatting. And as we all know, readers do judge books by their cover, don't they? Okay. The title of her presentation is What Makes a Great Book Cover. If you would please welcome Karen Phillips.
Thank you again for having me speak here today. I appreciate it very much, and I joined your branch today. I'm also a member of the Mount Diablo branch. So my presentation is everything, or what makes a great book cover. And several of you have used me for your covers. Thank you very much, including Daniel Babka, Cheryl Stapp, and Jim Guili. So why hire a cover artist? One of my clients says, I won't bother with a book if the cover is not professionally done. And I'm sure you would agree. Why would you pick up a book if the cover does not catch your eye? Especially if it's not professionally done, because then you know the story is not professional. I mean, sometimes it could be professional, but the cover needs to indicate that. So the process, what is important to know for both designer and author? First of all, the cost. Also, will artificial intelligence be used? Some people are very opinionated about the use of AI, and it's important that you talk to your cover designer about whether it's okay to use AI in the cover design, whether on a small scale or a large scale, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. You want to share examples of other covers the client likes so that the designer knows what direction to go in. Even though the designer is the expert, they want to understand what your vision is. And then if there's a contract, make sure everything is explained in the contract, especially about changes. If there's revisions, whether the cover designer allows multiple revisions or if it's limited and then allows other revisions, but with an additional cost. So what makes a good cover? Can anybody just shout out some elements that make a good cover? Color, that's good. The font, excellent, should be easy to read. Elicits emotions, I like that, because yes, the cover needs to convey a tone. And it's not good to put everything in your story on the cover. You just want to, whatever the tone of your story is, that's what you want to convey on the cover to the reader. You don't want to tell everything on the cover because then the reader won't want to read your story. They've already seen everything that's going on the cover. Also, so when you mentioned font, it should be easy to read at thumbnail size, which is the size you see on Amazon or any other book selling platform. Type that's readable at thumbnail size. The genre is clear. So if you're wanting to buy a cozy mystery, you don't want a cover that looks like a thriller. Exactly. Right. Hook is good. I like that. It needs to be eye-catching, not too busy, and the mood and tone conveyed. So we talked about it needs to convey the genre that your story's written in, and that leads to genre matching. Does anybody know, or how many people know what genre matching is? Okay. So first fit in, then stand out. Here are examples. I'm not sure if you can see this very well, but the first one is thrillers, and as you can see, they typically show a man running. I don't know why exactly, but they all do. And the type is really big, whether it's the title or the author. And the man running, it just tells the reader this is a thriller. The next genre is mystery and suspense. The title pretty much occupies the entire cover and gives a sense of what the story is about. There's some tension in the title, and there's some tension in the image behind the title. Now, the Agatha Christie one I kind of threw in there just to show that once you become a best-selling author, you can do whatever you want. Urban fantasy, as you can see, the typeface is a serif font with extended swashes, and it looks a little fantastical. It has people on the cover set in sort of a moody fantasy, almost fairy tale setting. These are examples of cover designs that I've done for Cozy Mystery, and golly gee, yes, my book, A Deadly Combo, is there. It's a blend of cozy and traditional genres, so I tried to capture that in the cover. Cozy Mystery book covers use both photographic and illustration styles, so that's up to, you know, the author and what they want. For example, Framed and Frosted uses a dog that the client owns, so she's very particular. She wants that dog on all her covers. Typically, the font for a cozy is somewhat whimsical or a script font, but not necessarily. So like Bittersweet Herbs, Birthdays or Murders, those are serif fonts that have sort of a soft feel. They're comfortable, they're easy to read. This slide shows some miscellaneous genres that I've done. I think some of you know Ginny Grossenbacher. Now this is examples of series covers. So for D.S. Lang, this is a 1920s series, a mystery set in the 1920s, and we have this curvy sort of a template that we use on every cover. You can see that the branding is very distinct. Just below it is a travel mystery series that I created sort of a logo that has an airplane and sort of a passport stamp look, and that's done across all covers. So when you have a series, it's important to create a brand for your series. And the Taffy Cannon series is Mysterious Traveler, that has a compass logo. And then this series on the bottom, the Hellsbane series, I think is kind of fun. This was done for Entangled Press, and this character is a very heroic, fantastical woman, and I thought this girl looked kind of kick-ass, but the author said, oh, she looks like she's been beat up. So they actually redesigned the covers, but later on. So for the print books, the cover design, typically for traditional fiction, traditionally published fiction, they choose a matte cover, not glossy. So keep that in mind, but of course it's up to you. The size of the book is very important. For example, I chose 5.5 by 8.5 for my book because it feels comfortable in my hand, but a lot of people prefer 6 by 9. On the back cover or on the front, a teaser grabbing the reader is really good. And then on the back, have a short blurb. Keep it as short as you can because people just don't want to read a long, lengthy description of what your story is about. The author bio, if you don't have it inside, of course, put it on the back, or at the very least, your author website URL. And especially important are reviews or one good quote from a reader or reviewer. So however you can do that, that's very important. If you have an author advanced reader copy, give that to people you know in this club that can give you a review for your book to put on the back cover before you actually publish it. If you have other books, definitely put that on the back cover and an imprint. The cover is packaging for your book, so you have to think about it as advertising space. Use it to your fullest advantage. Yes, Larry?
So do you mind if we interrupt you with questions?
I think that's fine.
So you were talking about reviews on that, whatever you call it, whether it's a formal review or whatever. So there's people that nobody's gonna know, and then there's people that are famous that people would know. But in the middle, there's people that might be important in a particular industry or field, but most people might not know. So is the name and title and the history of who that reviewer that you're putting on your book, can you talk a little bit about that? Because that, to me, that's for whoever's going to buy it. I'm not sure I understand the mindset. If it's more important to have just a really good review, and I don't care who it is, somebody from this club, not that there's anybody here that is great, but most of us don't have anybody in New York that knows who we are.
Right.
So our name won't mean anything. So can you speak to that a little?
Right. So, well, specifically for nonfiction books, you would want a subject matter expert. So if it's someone that has a title in the field that relates to what you wrote about, then that's important. Even if the reader doesn't know that particular person, but they see their title, and then they'll understand that's an expert. For fiction, it would be better if it's somebody that's known, say, if you wrote a cozy book, like I got blurbs from, or reviews, whatever you want to call them, or quotes from authors in the cozy field. So yeah, whatever is relative to your genre, whether it's fiction or nonfiction. And that's one of the perks of joining a writers group, is meeting fellow writers and you know, helping each other with reviews. Yes, Bernard. So the imprint is if an author owns their own publishing company, and say they do a boutique press and they publish other author books, but on a very, very small scale, they might have their own logo, or at least the name of that publishing house. So they would put that on the back. So these are examples of using the back of your print cover as fully as possible. And for example, for the D.S. Lang book, A Precarious Homecoming, she has a little blurb, a very, very short synopsis for book 2 in the series to get you to want to buy it, and then her website at the bottom. For Bakersfield Boys Club, do some of you know Anne DeVigo? She put her author bio on the back with her picture, also her website, and a nice review. Yes. Right. It's you can send them an advance copy. You can ask them, do they want a PDF? Do they want the actual print book? What, or whatever they want. You know, you definitely will give them whatever they want, because they're interested in helping you. So they can always say no, but yes, definitely reach out, even if it's with another writers organization or just somebody that, like for instance, I went on a retreat. This is another reason why just going out and getting into these different events is really good networking. I went to a retreat with Terry Shames. She lives down south, and she is pretty well known. She's not a best-selling author, but she certainly is selling a lot of books. And she gave me a review because she was at the retreat, so we knew each other. Yes. You mean like, okay, so one of the advantages of getting someone to review your book early is they might catch typos that your developmental editor or your proofreader didn't catch. That always happens. I mean, even with traditionally published books, you'll catch at least one. And but of course you want to do your due diligence ahead of time and have those editors help you and your beta readers or your critique group. Does that answer your question, Victor?
Yeah, just like
Maybe we could talk about that after. Okay, so a case study for one of my clients is Murder is Revealing by Michelle Corbier. So her series has a sort of a Easy Rollins character and a lot of references to Easy Rollins. And so we went through these different ideas because of the different settings in her book, kind of spoke to these different ideas of a gardenia bush, a spider's web, a rainy afternoon. And then this last one, it's kind of hard to see the detail, but there's a fedora on a desk with a gun and a notepad. So that's very, Easy Rollins kind of a suggestion. But it was a little too dark. So we picked the gardenia bush because, again, that was part of the book. There was a gardenia bush mentioned in the story. And I created a brand with the fedora, and then we added blood to the flower. And this title treatment where the font is kind of half hidden behind some elements on the cover, whether it's a plant or the sky is kind of trendy right now, or has been for a while. Dharma, did you have a question? Oh, it's a hat. Yeah, it's hard to see. If the room was dark, you could see. Thanks for asking. Okay, so this is a case study using AI, and this is on a very small scale, so don't expect some wild stuff here. But when you're using a cover artist, they can use AI on a very small scale or a very large scale. One of the biggest programs right now for AI is called Midjourney, and I haven't learned Midjourney. That's going to take a bit of time to get that curve under my belt, so to speak. I use Photoshop and Illustrator and the whole Adobe suite to create my covers, and they now have an AI component, if you will. So this is, and again, it might be hard to see because these images are small, but for this first cover, the first version of the cover, the client gave me this photo, but she decided this wasn't working. So then this story takes place in the Castlecombe in the Cotswolds. And so she gave me this image of the Cotswolds, or Castlecombe specifically, and we zoomed in on it and there's this patio table in the lower right, and it has a folded umbrella. Can you see that? It's not really important that you see it. It's just this element is there. And she decided she didn't like it. So she just wanted some plants there. And instead of me finding plants on the internet or in a stock photo website, I highlighted that area in Photoshop, and then I told the AI component to generate. And what that means is it takes elements from around that area and creates its own patch, if you will. So it created a patch that looks like a garden. So it's organic to the setting. And it did, I was done in like a minute or something. So it's very, very helpful to cover designers. And if you as a client are amenable to that level of use of AI, you do want to have this discussion with your cover artist. And maybe have it in the contract that does the client approve use of AI in the cover design, and have a box that says yes or no, and make sure you check one of those boxes, because AI is becoming more usable, user-friendly. Again, it's in the Adobe Creative Suite, so it's not going away. And if you're sensitive about it, you need to discuss it with your cover artist. Bernard.
I think this is a rabbit hole we can get stuck in, but I just want to say I don't necessarily agree, because anybody can go take that picture, and anybody can take that picture to that AI and say to that AI, create it, and it can create the same thing. So you really don't have that. Exactly. Exactly. So. And you're going to even randomness of the angle you're taking the picture. It's the same picture. All I'm saying is, anytime you get into this stuff, how many people take pictures of the Golden Gate Bridge, and how many images of the Golden Gate Bridge are on it? There's no copyright involved.
Oh, pardon me? Oh, thank you for mentioning that. So she told me she wanted a rough-haired terrier on the cover. So I found one that was standing, but she didn't like it standing, so she found one that was sitting and gave it to me, and that's why they're different. So this last one is the one that she finally agreed is she approves it, and she will publish with this look. So formatting, and I'm almost done with my presentation, is very important to have done professionally. You want it easy to read and have the type at a font size that is not too big, not too small, and has nice leading with white space. It's important that the eye feels that it can rest between paragraphs, and that there's a lot of margins on the page, or good margin space on the page. You don't want, I know all of you, when you open a book and it's just crammed with type and it's a little too small and the leading is tight, you just don't even want to read it. Yes. The interior, thank you. Thank you. And limit widows and orphans. That's where the sentence is just on one line hanging on the top of the page, or, one word. You don't want hyphenated words splitting between the pages. I mean, these are little things that a formatter looks at and make sure that it doesn't happen. That it's also set in justified setting, and the author bio at the back with contact info and a request for honest reviews is always a good idea. You might have it also on the back cover. It's okay to repeat it. And an excerpt from the next book, if it's a series, or other book, if you have a standalone, it's always good. Again, this is advertising space. You can use it as you see fit. Does anybody have any more questions about formatting? So that's it. Thank you very much. Yes, Larry.
So one of the things that you said was you were talking about that the author wants, and this is one of my pet peeves. I don't particularly care what the cover looks like. I only care that the cover gets people to stop and look at it.
You're my favorite client.
So when you say to me, show me books you like and show me covers you like, tell me what it is you want, I'm like, no, I don't want to do that because I'm not trying to sell it to me. This is a problem I've had. I've had many companies, and I hire these graphic designers to do my identity package. And they're like, here's 3 different logos. Which one do you like? It's like, no, I'm not the person that needs to like it. How do you deal with that? Because when I hire you as a book cover designer, I'm expecting you to understand who my audience is and be able to cater to them for me. Because I don't know how to do that. Can you speak to that?
Sure. Okay. So I provide up to 3 concepts when I do a cover design. Oh, and we were going to speak about cost. I charge $300. That includes the cover for the ebook, which of course is just the front cover, and then the print cover with the spine and the back. So I provide up to 3 concepts, and if the client doesn't want to share, or isn't interested in sharing covers that they like, that's perfectly fine. I just do that because some clients are very specific about what they expect from me. Even though I'm the expert, they're coming to me for that. It's important that I understand what's in their head. So if they don't have anything in their head and they're coming to me because I have that expertise, that's perfectly fine. So I provide up to 3 concepts because they do have an opinion in some shape or form, and I want them to buy into what we're doing here because we're a team. So they pick one of the concepts that is moving in the right direction, and then we go from there. Does that answer your question?
Not really. I don't want to be involved in the process.
Interesting.
All I want is to be able to say, like, I had 3 different people design my cover before I got to the 4th person who actually was able to do it. It's called Businesses Don't Fail, They Commit Suicide. The first person had bullets and guns. The second person had a hangman's noose.
Oh.
The third person had a man in a chair on railroad tracks.
Oh my gosh.
So what my role was to say, no, this isn't about actual human suicide, right? So that's the level of involvement I want. I don't want any more involvement in that. One of the best designers I ever hired was in Chicago and used to say, if it makes the boss uncomfortable, it's probably just what you need. Right? I do not want to play a role in it. I want your expertise to tell me this is what the market will.
Okay.
Is that something you feel like you have the expertise for, and are you okay with that?
Right. So if you and I work together, we would have this exact conversation, and then I would understand where you're coming from, and that's what I would do, is provide you what I felt would be the best cover. But I like to give people choices. If you don't want a choice, that's fine. but I would totally understand what your book's about, whether I read it or I would read the just the synopsis. I mean, I never would have come up with those other ideas. It just is kind of bizarre. So it depends on who you're hiring, and yeah, you definitely want them to be invested in your book and understand what the book's about. Okay. So you can avoid them, yes. First, her and then Daniel. Oh, so thank you. The formatting of the interior is extra. I'm charging $150, but I'm going to increase it to 200. The and if the client changes, like one client has her paperback as one size and then she's doing hardcover as a different size, then that would be an additional fee because you have to change the parameters, you have to change the margins, etc. Daniel.
I'm just going to add to what Larry was saying and what you were saying. It's kind of like how I approach it. And, you know, Karen did and I've told this Lisa, you know, I gave her the best recommendation ever. And did. This covers that. She's fun to work with. She's collaborative. I gave her like 2.5 or 3 type pages about this cover before we even began to talk about it. I told her what I wanted to convey, all the kinds of things we were talking about. But I invested the time in doing that because I wanted it to be right. And and from that point, you know, it became, and I think that that's something that gets overlooked because you got to do some work. You got to do some work. You got to give it some thought, touch those different bases, more points that we want. And it's just like writing this, putting a book together is such a collaborative process.
Thank you, Daniel. And Jim? Correct.
It is matters because it's not glossy, but it's also very clear. It's funny, I did the word that being harder to see. And so my first choice would be immediately glossy. But this is pretty good. So what do you have to say about why would we not want glossy?
Okay, so because traditionally published authors, fiction authors, have their books printed in matte finish, if you, as an independent self-published author, have a glossy cover, it used to indicate that you're a self-published author and that the quality is not quite there. That has changed somewhat. Again, it's up to the author if they want glossy or matte. I just continue to advise people choose matte for fiction because that's always been, that in the past has been the way traditional publishers, the choice of traditional publishers.
Beyond that sort of, you know, that, because some people see, well, I think you get beyond that a little bit with color.
Oh, yeah, right. That's always a printing issue that the cover designer has to make sure that the cover isn't too dark because it does soak up the ink on the press. But I just want to make one more point about glossy is nonfiction books have been traditionally published in glossy. So for example, Larry's book, I can't remember if it's printed glossy or not, but it probably is glossy.
I honestly don't know. I mean, it's just, I know what I know, and I know what I don't know, and I hire people because I need them to do it for me. So
Gotcha.
I just don't have space to keep all that.
Yeah, no, I get you. Any other questions, Dharma?
say to me, Donna, I don't care if you don't like Sarah Palmer. This is what's going to work here. Oh, yeah. I need that, you know, and all the magic of it. You know,
Oh, definitely, yeah.
glossing.
But right, and again, I enjoy those kind of clients, and even like I said about you, Larry, that's great because there are some clients that will put me through the ringer, if you will, and they don't know what they want. They don't want to rely on the expert, so they just keep making changes until they finally. I don't know if they're exhausted. I certainly am, but they finally make a choice, and we run with it. Oh, Cheryl. Thank you. Yeah, that was a really fun cover to work on. I love that cover. Right. So I printed my book, which is for sale here, as Cheryl mentioned. It's $10 a copy. I also have business cards for my cover design. And I printed my book in 12-point font, and I made sure that the leading, I believe, is 15. Normally it's 14. So there's a little extra white space there. And I don't, it just feels comfortable to me, and it's easy to read. If you have the font set at, say, 10-point, that's too small in my opinion. Any other questions? Yes. 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 So that's very important that you talk to your cover designer about revision or changes, because to be honest, I've never had a contract unless the client asks for one. I'm going to run home after this meeting, set up a contract, because a client I'm working with right now has asked for an amazing amount of revisions, and she is paying me for those additional revisions above and beyond what is normal for me. But it is just amazing to me that she does not trust the expert. She tells me the next day that she had a vision in the night, and all of a sudden we're creating a new cover. So kind of a nightmare. But but again, she is understanding that this will cost additional money, but it's very important really to have that specified up front so there's no surprises. Any other questions? Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much, Karen. So it's a great insight into covers.